This video is a bit more off the cuff than usual, however I will be doing a video looking at who I would have as United's next manager, analysing both Pochettino and Ten Hag, and also looking at some outside of the box options as well. And I will also be doing a who Manchester United should sign video, which has changed significantly from that series I did maybe 2 or 3 months ago looking at who United should sign in each position. It is more of a radical overhaul, so you'll definitely want to subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss out on that video. But before I go any further, for cheap good quality football jerseys, retro jerseys and tracksuits, go over to www.jerseyfever.com. I myself have bought a number of different jerseys from Jersey Fever, including this 2003-2004 Manchester United shirt with Ronaldo on the back, and this one's probably my favourite. So if you want a shirt like this, be sure to click the link in the description below and use code ATLANTISFOOTBALL with a space to get 5% off. So let's get into it. So going into the game, RANGNICK's 4-2-3-1, which had Fred and McTominay as a midfield double pivot with Fernandes in front, became a 2-3-2-3 in possession, which has been the system that we have been seeing United use in recent weeks, with Simeone's side defending in a very passive and deep 5-3-2 shape. United were able to move the ball out of their defensive third with ease on most occasions, with Felix and Griezmann instead preferring to sit off and create a vertically compact pentagon shape with the 3 midfielders behind them, and they didn't even really engage United until they moved into the Atletico Madrid half. The fullbacks Telles and Dalot remained fairly deep in position when in the build-up in the defensive third, and then also in the middle third, with Dalot in particular drifting infield, holding a narrower position with McTominay as a single pivot, as Fred would push up between the lines alongside Fernandes, as Sancho and Elanga pushed high and wide. Now, like against Tottenham, which I did analyse and that video will be linked below, this was the right possession shape to go with against a deep 5-3-2, as by having the 2 wide attackers high and wide, you force the Atletico Madrid wing-backs, which was Llorente and Lodi, backwards, and thereby forcing Atletico Madrid into a flat back 5. And then because Atletico Madrid are using a narrow front 5, the space is in these wide areas, and so with Dalot and Telles retaining deep and narrower positions, United could theoretically circulate the ball around Felix and Griezmann efficiently, and then when the fullbacks receive the ball, it forces the wide central midfielders, De Paul or Koke, to push out and leave space in behind them, or they can sit in the midfield line and afford the Manchester United fullbacks time and space on the ball. Telles and Dalot are much better long and incisive passers than either Wan-Bissaka or Shaw, so the selection at fullback made sense from a tactical point of view. Now, you do have to give credit to Simeone, as he did recognise that this space was developing wide of the front 2, and so he instructed Griezmann to pull out into a right side of midfield position, giving Atletico more of a 5-4-1 shape out of possession, with Koke and Griezmann sitting as the wide midfielders, with Griezmann on Telles closing down his space, and so when the ball would move over to United's left side with either Maguire or Fred on the ball, wide of João Felix, we would see Rodrigo De Paul being that player to step out of the midfield line to close down the space, rather than Griezmann, who held a wider position, closing off the space for Alex Telles. And United struggled to break down Atletico Madrid's deep 5-4-1 shape for pretty much the whole match, and this can be seen as despite limiting Atletico Madrid to an XG of just 0.54, United only accumulated an XG of 1.23. I did think that it was Anthony Elanga who was United's brightest spark offensively. In the opening minutes he had a header where he climbed above Oblak but couldn't direct the header on target, and then he had the best chance of the first half when Ronaldo played a ball down the side for Bruno Fernandes' forward run, and then because Ronaldo was dropping wide and deep on the right side from the forward position, we would often see Elanga move from the right side into a centre forward position. Ronaldo drops deep, receives the ball, plays the ball down the line for the on-running Fernandes, who drives forward with the ball into a crossing position, and Elanga manages to manoeuvre his way in between Savic and Jimenez unmarked. The ball across goes into Elanga and he should score, but his shot deflects off of Oblak's head. And Oblak, in fairness, was pretty good throughout the whole match, particularly in the second half, when he was very good at coming and claiming crosses, able to take the pressure off of Atletico Madrid. We also saw the benefit of playing Diego Dalot at right back ahead of Wan-Bissaka for a chance that was created for Elanga, or really a half chance. It wasn't really even a clear-cut chance at all. Dalot has the ball on the right side in that space that I was talking about, and he plays a fantastic long pass to find Bruno Fernandes' forward run, and his first time backwards flick into Elanga's path is perfect, and Elanga does well to dribble past the Atletico Madrid defender, and he gets into a kind of crossing shooting position and puts in a half cross half shot, not troubling Oblak, but nevertheless it was probably one of United's best pieces of play throughout the second half, which shows how little little United actually created. However, United's problems weren't just offensively, also defensively they were absolutely cut open by Atletico Madrid on 2 occasions in the first half. We see here that United are defending in their 4-4-2 and Bruno Fernandes has to cut the passing lane into Koke. He doesn't do this, the ball goes into Koke. McTominay's not strong enough in the tackle, and a lot of people, particularly on Twitter when I looked, seem to be criticising Harry Maguire for stepping out of the defensive line in this situation, but I don't really see what he could have done differently. He had to step out to close up that space. As if Maguire hadn't stepped out, Koke would have just played this pass into Griezmann, who would then have had the space to turn and drive at United's back line. Instead, the real problem is United's defensive shape as a whole. The front two of Ronaldo and Fernandes weren't doing a good job of cutting the passing lanes into the Atletico Madrid central midfielders, and also Jadon Sancho has to be narrower, as he's far too wide and therefore cannot get to De Paul quickly enough. Koke and De Paul play the 1-2, playing around Fred and McTominay with ease, and then from this situation Alex Telles has his body positioning all wrong. He should be opened out so that he can see Llorente's run down the outside of him. Instead, because he's positioned facing inside, Koke's ball down the inside of him finds Llorente's run down the outside, and Llorente's ball across for João Felix is perfect, and Felix's finish was great as well, and United were saved by the offside flag as Llorente had just gone a fraction of a second too early. But United's defensive shape was once again a mess later on in the half, which led to Atletico Madrid's goal. We see here as the ball gets shifted over to the right side that the space between Jadon Sancho and Fred is far too big, and United need a much narrower and compact front six. As when the ball gets shifted out to Llorente, you see here as he comes inside that the passing lane into Griezmann is wide open because Fred is too far away from Sancho. But to be fair to Atletico Madrid, their interplay is fantastic. The ball goes into Griezmann, he lays it off for Rodrigo de Paul, and Felix's run is timed perfectly, pulling round the outside of Varane and making that run between him and Alex Telles. But even here as he cuts back and the ball is in United's box, there needs to be much more communication between Varane and Maguire. Maguire, for some reason, is just ball watching. He doesn't even look over his shoulder to take up the player who's on Dalot's inside. Dalot should be screaming at him to turn round and take that man. McTominay as well doesn't track Rodrigo de Paul's run into the box, so Dalot is in two minds, and so he's not further enough back to deal with the cross that comes in over his head, and Lodi just heads the ball into the ground and into the net, giving Atletico Madrid the lead. Now from here on out it was always going to be tough. Atletico Madrid sat incredibly deep in a 5-4-1 shape, basically inviting United into their defensive third. But United made it easy for Simeone's side. What they should have been looking to do is transition the attack quickly. See, when United had the ball in their build-up, that is when there's going to be the most horizontal space between the Atletico Madrid lines. When they get back into the defensive third, because they were sitting so deep, there's going to be less space between the lines and in behind the back line. And so United, rather than trying to move the ball quickly through the defensive and middle third, looking to get it into the final third in behind Atletico Madrid's midfield, they seem content to move the ball forward slowly and then start trying to break down Atletico Madrid when they were already compact in their 5-4-1 shape in their defensive third, which of course is going to be extremely hard. Now, one of United's best chances in the second half came from a movement down the right side. The ball went into McTominay and he actually did well for once, switching the ball out wide to Elanga early, and Dalot makes a fantastic underlapping run. Elanga finds his run and then the cross goes to the back post, and Jadon Sancho's volley is a hard chance. It's not really a full chance and it does go over the bar, but the problem is that United didn't work the ball down the channels enough through these underlapping runs. The main problem for United is the lack of creativity in deeper positions. Maguire and Varane are both very good passers, but they take too long on the ball, Maguire especially. He slowly plods out of the defensive third, allowing Atletico Madrid to simply move across and get into a compact shape. And McTominay as well doesn't have the incisive passing ability to play those passes into players between the lines. He's far too reliant on playing these shorter passes that do circulate possession, but in the end you're just moving it back and forth from one side to the other. I couldn't understand why RANGNICK didn't bring on Paul Pogba at half time, or even start with Nemanja Matic and Pogba, because you knew this was going to be the game plan for Atletico Madrid. So why play McTominay in a game where you're going to be forced to break down the opposition? I even think that Lindelof would have been a better option deep in the midfield than McTominay, just because he has a better passing range, and at least he's trying to move the ball forward quickly. When Rashford came on as well, he was just terrible. He gave the ball away literally every time he got the ball. He gets the ball, stands still, allows the defender to reset, tries to then either take him on or play a pass, and and ends up giving the ball away. And there was multiple times where the attacks completely broke down with Rashford on that right side. Pogba was brought on in the 66th minute, which was far too late. I couldn't understand why he wasn't at least brought on at half time. Matic also definitely improved United when he came on, just having a better ability to move the ball forward than McTominay. And all in all, this was just a typical United performance. If I analysed the game fully, it would literally be like I was analysing the Burnley game, the Southampton game. It's like we've seen this game on repeat. United played pretty well in the first half, looking the better side to be honest, but then they're always liable to make a mistake at the back. The defensive shape was completely exposed at the top level. You may have gotten away with a defensive shape like that against the Burnley, against the Southampton or Watford, whoever in the Premier League, but in the Champions League, Atletico Madrid were able to completely open up United through the centre of the pitch a few times, and they were lucky to not have that goal allowed that Felix scored. It was only just offside, and United didn't really create any clear-cut chances, to be honest, apart from Elanga's chance in the first half, and there was the Varane header, even though that did come from a set piece. Black was very good in the game, but you would expect that from a Champions League level side, so that can't really be to blame. The referee was pretty bad as well, but that wasn't a reason United lost the game. And all in all, even if United had managed to get through this game somehow, if United come up against a Real Madrid, even like a Benfica, I think they would have struggled. Imagine if United came up against Real Madrid or even Manchester City or Liverpool, it would have been over two legs. It would have been an absolute battering. So I think this just shows where United are. I don't even think United are top 15 teams in Europe at the moment. I think Atletico Madrid are a poor side comparatively to the other teams in Europe, and I think if they come up against a Real Madrid, a Man City, a Liverpool, even a Chelsea, I think they'll get knocked out. So this really just shows United's level, to be honest.